Welcome to the channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. On today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the CADISEN C1032 Dress Watch. I did make a mention of this watch in my Aliexpress flash sale video because it was incredible value for money, and now I've got it in my hands. So let's go a bit deeper into the watch and see how good it really is. Before I go any further, if you haven't done so already, you need to hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, I don't know why. Let's hit the subscribe. Let's support the channel. As always, it's always appreciated, and it helps this channel to grow, helps me make more videos and review other watches. And also, while you're there, if you like the video, add a like and leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are, etc, etc. Okay, let's get into the actual review of the watch. As you can see, this is the packaging. It comes in pretty humble in terms of packaging. Those of you that are used to my channel know that I do make a small point about packaging. I think it is quite important. However rudimentary, I actually quite like this packaging. It's effective, it's simple, it doesn't take up much space. So your parcels, when you're receiving them, shouldn't be too bulky and pretty lightweight. You've got the CADISEN logo across the actual case. You've got this cheapo alligator print on the actual box. No need for it, but there we go. Before I actually open the box, if you are interested in the watch by the end of the video, please take a look in my description. I will link the Aliexpress store. I'm going to link the official store, even though there are multiple vendors. Reason I do that is what I find is official stores are usually the actual company CADISEN and not, reselling agents. So they can assist you if you have any refunds or any defects have arrived with the watch. They can usually sort out any issues. They can give you discounts, etc. So it's worth supporting the official channel, the official website, or just go for the cheapest option, whichever you want. With that affiliated AliExpress link in the description, I'll get a commission from AliExpress on that for you using that link and directing traffic towards them. It doesn't add any other cost to yourself, obviously. By now you should know how that works. I don't have any affiliation with the actual brand. It's the first piece I've bought of theirs. And from what I can tell on their page and looking at the watches, they do pretty decent and very affordable dress watches, which is the majority of their range. They do have a couple of dive pieces. We will go on to that further on through the video. So please use the link in the description, and you can purchase any watch from there. You can purchase anything from AliExpress as long as you just use that link. Okay, let's get into the actual review. So we have the watch in this box here, very streamlined, and it is a efficient box, so that's okay. That's I won't say anything more on the packaging side of it. Couple of things to note about this particular piece. Now, this wasn't purchased from actually AliExpress. I've been meaning to purchase from AliExpress. To be honest with you, what's putting me off a lot of purchases is this lengthy shipping due to this current global crisis that we have. So I saw this watch on eBay, a seller from the UK. The watch looked mint, so I thought I'll buy it from there. Obviously he's had it, it's definitely working, so it gives me a chance to get my hands on it and review it. What that also meant, I got it at a very good price. We'll go into the price aspect of this watch later on. So on the AliExpress page from the official store, you have a couple of options when it comes to this watch. So you have a black dial and you've got this silver dial I've got, but you also get a stainless steel bracelet. Now, from what I can tell from the actual official store, you'll get a stainless steel bracelet and an additional leather strap. This one has only got the leather strap. I'm not too fussed because I looked at a few of the reviews and they do mention that the bracelet is quite flimsy and weak. So there's a bit of negativity around the bracelet. And, when it comes to bracelets, there's nothing like having a poorly built bracelet. Due to its nature, you want it to be smooth, you want it to be strong and just, robust, because it's what ties it onto your wrist, obviously. So I'm not too fussed about that. Now the box, if you were to buy it from the actual official store, should come with a cleaning cloth and a warranty card. This one just doesn't come with either, but again, I'm not bothered. I do actually like, upon first impressions, I love the strap that the watch does come with. Usually myself, when it comes to dress watches, I do actually prefer them on leather straps over the stainless steel bracelets, but that is somewhat subjective. I think we can now just go through dimensions and specifications, because the specifications on this watch are literally absolutely crazy, for what you're actually paying for the watch. Dimensions, the case diameter is 40 millimeters, so a nice, I'd say, pleasing all-round diameter. It's not too big and it isn't too small. The thickness, on the website it says 12 mil, but just checking it with my own caliper, it's reading 11.5 mil, so a reasonably thin watch. I'm used to dive watches, so I'm used to slightly thicker cases, so this is a very reasonable thickness. And you got a lug to lug of 47 millimeters. I call this the Goldilocks zone for the smaller wrists. Specifications. So the watch is listed with having obviously a stainless steel case. It's got a sapphire crystal. I did test it with my diamond tester, and it lit up quite high up, so it definitely does have a sapphire glass. The sapphire glass, it doesn't have any air coating, it's not domed, it's just flat, and it sits reasonably flush to the case. The movement is a NH36 hand winding and hacking 24 jewel movement, made by Seiko Epson. So the specs, literally, it is, you can't get any better, to be honest, at the moment. Obviously you can go high end, Swiss, etc., but for your day-to-day beaters and your normal mid-range low end watches, NH35 hands down is unbeatable. And you've got that added sapphire crystal. This being a dress watch, you might not wear it daily, but you've got the added scratch resistance. Now I really want to focus on the first thing, which is the actual dial. As you can see, I got the silver one, and this got a beautiful silver sunray dial. The indices, you've got the Roman numeral Arabic at the 12 o'clock. After that, all the indices are just bars, just batons, which are all applied, highly polished, with chamfered edges. The date window is surrounded by a really nice silver polished frame at the 3 o'clock position, as you can see. The hands, you've got Dauphine style hands with a needle-like second hand. Now the second hand, I'm just trying to see, it just is slightly by a mil bigger than the hour hand. So I think that looks all right. I think on watches the second hand needs to be just a touch longer, especially on the dress watches. Dial, because it is a dress watch, you'll find dials on dress watches are really plain. Some would argue that the date window is a bit too much for a dress watch. I probably can agree. I think it would just look that bit classier without it. But again, that's a personal opinion. You've got a printed logo at the 12 o'clock mark, and automatic at the 6 o'clock on the dial. The logos are printed, and there's nothing really to it. It would have been better if it was an applied applied silver logo, similar to the indices. I think with the diameter of the case being 40 mil, it does make the dial really pop. I think one of that is a striking feature of the actual watch. It's the first thing that you see. It's the biggest thing on the watch, and I do really love how that, you know, shimmers, catches the light. It looks absolutely wonderful. You do have a problem with these, you know, style of watches. That being that when you get a bit of glare, it can be difficult to tell the time. Although it isn't that obvious on this watch, maybe because the hands aren't too thin, and I think again that Dauphine style or the chamfer edge does help that, because you'll always get a bit of shadow on the one side or the other side. Okay, moving on to the case and crown. The crown, because it's not a dive watch, obviously it's not going to screw down, so you can hear the hand winding here. It hacks. You can set the date by pulling it out once, and the hacking, you all should know now how Seiko movements work. You'll stop the second hand and just click it back in. The actual case, stainless steel. You've got a really nice curvature on the end of the lugs. There's a star on the actual crown. Now I don't know if that is CADISEN's signed crown, or if they've just got a generic crown with a star on there. This is the first piece I've bought off CADISEN, so I don't know what to really expect. Case is finished nicely and polished all the way around. I wouldn't say it's a very high polish, it's just polished. Turning it around in the back case, you've got the CADISEN logo, you've got automatic sapphire crystal, you've got the model number, and you've got 5 ATM water resistance. So this is a 50-meter water resistant watch, which basically means it's okay for getting it, you know, just slightly wet in the rain or just in the shower, but nothing too heavy, no swimming, and definitely no snorkeling. Also on the back case, you've got an exhibition case back. You know, nobody really complains. While it isn't the most prettiest of movements, I still enjoy looking at it. It's easy to see what's going on, and it is a very, very solid movement, no doubt about that. For those of you that are Seiko fans, you can all, you know, attest to the fact that they are really solid. The leather strap, I've mentioned it in the start of the video. The quality, I was really surprised by the strap, to be honest, considering what the price of these watches is. You know, you've got this contrast stitching, very good quality stitching. You've got genuine leather strap. You know, you've got some padding down the center, so it isn't very thin, flimsy, and I think it's that, you know, smooth grain leather, and it does suit the watch really well. You've got a silver safety buckle here, or sorry, buckle, and then I think this would fit wrist maybe up to 7.5 inches. It does seem to fit mine, it being a 6.5 inch wrist. And that's that. I'm gonna put in a video of a wrist shot just after this. Of course, dress watch, there is no loom. Some of them do have loom, but there's no loom indices, so I can't give you a loom shot on this. And then after the actual wrist shot, I'm gonna just sum it up, give you my final thoughts, and that should be the end of the review. Now I think you can all agree that the watch does look pretty impressive on the wrist. It's a very nice fit, and that is one of the best points about the watch. Dimensionally, it is I think it hits a real sweet spot there. The dress watches these days, especially, they can be quite large. They can go to up to 42, up to 44 millimeters, and that's a real problem when you've got you know, smaller wrists. So I think with the 47 lug width, 40 mil, the 47 lug length, 40 mil diameter, I think it does hit that sweet spot where it can fit the majority of wrists out there. The crazy thing about this watch now, and this for dress watches, bearing in mind we're not talking about dive watches now, this is probably one of the best value for money watches out there. If you saw that AliExpress flash sale video, it doesn't matter if you didn't. If you go onto AliExpress now, if you go onto AliExpress in a week, whatever, this watch retails for around the 40 to 45 pound mark. Just think about that. You know, we're used to AliExpress giving us cheaper watches, but actually just think about it. You've got a sapphire crystal, you've got this NH36 movement. Now, if we just break that down slightly, the NH36, you can buy that from AliExpress for the £25 mark, yeah? So then it makes you think, okay, what percentage are they turning over on that? If you're into sales, you know, usually you work on a minimum 1.2 to 1.5, if not higher, % margin, right? So AliExpress take fees, so the agents will have to put a little bit extra on top to make it worth their while. So it makes you think that the NH36, what does it really cost to make? Or not even that, what have Seiko been selling them at? So if that brings the movement down to roughly, I don't know, the £10 mark, I'll tell you what now, then this is the best movement, full stop. You know, they're used in the majority of Seiko watches. It's been a solid movement since day dot when they started on the 7S, and then they moved it up. They advanced the movement. They made it a 4R NH, adding a couple more jewels and adding the hand winding capability. But aside from that, I know from personal experience, from anecdotal experience, from other people telling me that they've been in the garden, they've been, you know, using hammer, using an axe. I personally have dropped a movement from, I don't know, about 30 centimeters off this table, bang on the side while I was modding a watch, and nothing happens to it. Solid movement. And of course, stainless steel case, leather strap, crystal. Then what does this watch cost to make? It does blow my mind from time to time. I think it does expose the watch industry as well, that we're paying, the majority of the money we're spending on is just corporate sales. You know, we're spending it on everything other than the actual watch. Yes, a slight portion of that goes into QC as well, which, dealing with AliExpress, I'm sure we all know there is a QC issue. It's not on that level, but it won't be, because, you know, it's a non-value add activity. So if someone's giving you a watch, you know, this cheap, they're not going to want to make it more expensive for themselves. Now, you know, just on that point, here's the flip side. Is it too cheap? So I know I'm kind of going away from this video. This is a review on this CADISEN, but it's just brought up a few points of conversation in my mind. Is it too cheap? Now, I showed this watch to somebody who doesn't know jack about watches, and I said, estimate what do you think it's worth. Now, they know what watches are, obviously, but they don't know the depth, detail. But they said roughly about 120, 150 pound. I agree with that. If on the face of it, you went away off AliExpress, just forget the name, if you had a slightly different name, you would think, you know, 120, 150, this watch would sell for that all day. Now, there's a slight issue with it being too cheap. You know, when you buy a watch, I think it's a mental consumer thing where you want to spend some amount of money. People usually save for watches, and it's normally you get them at, you know, if there's something special that's happened, birthday, graduation, whatever. And I think that's what helps you look after that watch. So if you get a watch and it costs you 250, 450, 5, whatever, regardless of whether that watch is really worth only £100, you know, you look after it a bit more. You would somewhat cherish it. You'd have a bit of pride wearing it. But then when you buy a watch for 40 quid, you know, that's in your mind that, you know, it's only 40 quid. And I think for that reason, there is a good portion of people that don't buy them. Because number one, is it too good to be true? That's in the head. And I think that's how brainwashed we are as consumers. And that's how big consumerism is. We think this isn't right. We should pay more. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me know what your thoughts on that. But I really do think that is starting to be a problem with, especially a lot of the really affordable watches out there. I mean, affordable in my mind would be, you know, sub 300, sub 400. That's what a lot of people think. because they're called Seiko affordable divers. But this is another level. 40 quid, £45. Honestly, I think that comes to about $60 or something. To get this level of watch, it's awesome for the consumers, but I think there is that little bit of that something's there mentally. We've been brainwashed as consumers for too long now. But anyway, I think that concludes the review. I really did enjoy doing this review. This watch took me by surprise, and I think it is a very fantastic, extremely well value for money. And if you feel the same way about it, as I mentioned at the start of the video, hit the AliExpress link and purchase through there if you don't mind. It just gets me some commission from AliExpress, which now I can start putting back into more pieces to review. Thank you for watching. Until next time.